Hello everyone, this is Didi Issa and I'm here to do my very first book review for you guys. It's called The Undefeated Mind by Lickerman. And please excuse my video skills. I don't yet have the proper tools or for to make like the best video. So the lightning and all that stuff, I don't have it yet. So just bear with me as I go through this. So it's a big book, and the author made like 10 key points in the book, and that's what I'm going to touch on. I'm not going to go through every single detail, and I'm trying to stay under 10 minutes here. Anyway, so the book begins with a quote that I really like. It says, wisdom, when spoken aloud, always sounds a bit foolish. And that is by Herman Hesse. I quoted Herman Hesse on that. Anyway, so he begins with a story about how he lost his girlfriend, and his girlfriend of 4 years broke up with him, and he was devastated. He was in medical school. He couldn't pass the boarding exam because he was so emotionally distraught. So he's a Buddhist. He's a Nicaraguan Buddhist. So he found through chanting, practicing his Buddhism, he found through chanting that he did not need the love of his girlfriend in order to be happy. He just thought that that's what he needed. So he found out through that he didn't need that. But it was an event that he used as a fuel to write the book, as a motivation to write the book itself. The first key point that he talks about is the meaning of victory, what it means to win, what it means to be victorious. And on that, he says that the victory that we want is not really victory over others. When we want victory over others, we're essentially dealing with ego, and that will lead us nowhere productive, right? So he says that the victory that we're looking for is the victory over our obstacles. So when we're having to suffer and we're dealing with something that we think that we cannot deal with, if we can go through that process and go and win and attain our goals anyway, like he did by passing his boarding exam, after going through such a traumatic event, then we have won. That is the meaning of victory. He talks about how attachment to things around us can make us vulnerable, and how attachment doesn't necessarily mean that we love something. Attachment is actually like the opposite of love, because if we love something, we must set it free. There was a quote that I really, really like by Julio Iglesias. Julio Iglesias or Julio Iglesias, depending on what country you're from, is one of my favorite singers, and he says something that I really, really like. He says, "L'amour ne chante bien qu'en liberté." Like, love only sings at its most excellent when it's liberated, right? So I really like that. So non-attachment, meaning love, okay? So that's the first point. The second point that he makes is finding your mission, being able to find your mission. Now, he says that as an individual, it is important to write your own mission, as though, how every company has their own mission. He says that every individual, every person should also have their personal mission. And I completely find that to be a very helpful tool. Why? Because we tend to, we can lose our relationship. We can lose our spouses. We can lose our homes. We can lose our jobs. But if we have a personal mission, if we have something that makes us feel that we're adding value to our environment, then whatever it is that we're going through, whatever it is that we lose, we can find our way back to ourselves when we notate those values. So it says that the ability to create value out of even the most horrific circumstances, and that's what will carry us through suffering and make you more resilient. And suffering ceases, to have a meaning of suffering when we can attach to it a different meaning. Like say God forbid, some parents lose their child to cancer, right? To a horrible cancer. So they decide to bring an awareness to the disease, and they create a funding foundation where scientists can do more research on the disease. So things like that. The third point he makes is you make a vow. As a person, you make a vow. And he talks a lot about Helen Keller in this section, about how she had a resolve. She was blind, she could not see, but she was determined. And the word resolve means a firm determination to do something no matter what. Helen Keller she had a resolve, and her resolve was to be an advocate for women's rights, and she did an awesome job. Whether she can hear, whether she can see, she did not care. She went through and she was determined and she did it. So another patient that he was talking about, a patient of his that was had a resolve to lose her weight so she can have a baby, have a husband and a baby, in which he talked to her, and she eventually became a wife and a mother at the same time. So just some awesome stories here that he talked about, but I don't want to go into too much of the detail of it. And then the fourth point he makes is to expect obstacles in life. When you expect excuse me, when we expect obstacles, he's not talking about being pessimistic. That's not what he's saying. Okay, what he's essentially referring to here in this section is the well, let me just say like this. Every action has a reaction, right? We learned that in basic physics, that every action has a reaction. So when you take an action, depending on the magnitude of that action, it's going to create some ripple effects. Okay? It's going to create some ripple effects. And those effects, sometimes they're like seeming obstacles. They appear as obstacles when they're really not obstacles. But when you see that, when you already foresee that, you say, okay, I'm taking this action. I'm trying to jump off of a cliff into this water, and I know when I jump in, there's going to be some pressure, but I'm prepared for that pressure, right? When you're prepared for that pressure, then you're better equipped to deal with it. So it doesn't become a surprise, and you're now trying to figure out in the midst of it how to figure it out, but you already know what to do. Okay, the fifth point he makes is to be able to stand alone, to be able to believe without any doubt in what it is that you believe in, and stand on your ground on that thing. And he talks about the story of a patient, of his. Excuse me, I need water. He talks about a patient of his who was talking about his daughter. His daughter was being, ignored by her friends and rejected by her friends because her friend did shoplifting. She stole from Macy's, and then the patient's daughter took the coat that her friend stole and went back to Mrs. and returned the coat, even though she knew that people were gonna hate her for it, right? So she went and did that anyway. And her friends hated her for that. And she was able to stand on her own and defend her point. Her friends finally took her back after understanding her point. Okay, so the sixth point he makes is the ability to accept pain. Pain is an extensive subject in this book. He talks a lot about it. And one of the conclusions he makes is we must be able to accept it. We have to be able to accept pain and let it come, especially emotional pain, be able to feel it and let it come and let it be what it is, and don't try to resist it. Resisting pain, resisting anything in this universe will cause you even more pain. Like the fight against disease creates more disease. The fight for peace creates more war. Etc., etc. And the seventh point he makes is the ability to let go. Just let it go. Kind of goes into the last point that I just made. Like, letting go fuels resilience. To be able to, no matter how well you are at being undefeated, having an undefeated mind, no matter how resilient you are, something is bound to happen that will try to throw you off. Like, this is the word, this is life. Something is going to happen that's going to make you want to quit, And he talks about how if that comes to us, then we surrender. We surrender and we let it be whatever it is. We surrender to the wind and let it blow us, because we're trees with roots, and it can blow our branches. It can blow our branches, but it's not going to lift us off from the ground that we're in, because we're rooted in, we're secure, So he talks about that. Okay, and then the 8th point that he made, number 8, he said, appreciate the good, to have gratitude, to be able to understand, even in suffering, that something good is here, to appreciate. Always see the good and appreciate it. And then the 9th point he made was to encourage others. When we feel compassion for others, when we feel love for others, it actually makes us feel really, really good. Scientifically, we feel good. Compassion does not mean that you're saying that everybody's good. Okay, you're not naive when you have compassion for humans. You are essentially believing in the power of goodness over the power of evil. You know that goodness always outweighs evil. So the capacity to have compassion for all beings, even a murderer, is not because you're naive. Is because you understand and you see the good in them, no matter how many flaws they may have, And good cannot be destroyed by others. No matter how much powerful and evil is, it can never, defeat something that is good. So be able to see the humanity in others, no matter what they do. The 10th point he made is to muster courage, and he talks a lot here about fear, about how we can benefit from fear, by using fear to fuel our motivation. Example, we run from danger, and we run from like a fire that's burning. But to be able to master courage from fear that's not danger is the how do I say that? Where am I going with this? Is the ability to master courage, and he talks in detail about how to do that. And one of the ways he talks about is to be able to distract yourself from that fear. Anyway, those are the 10 points that he made in the book. Again, I'm just touching on those 10 essential points. If you really want every detail in the book, you can go ahead and purchase it. I'm not advertising the book or anything. I just read it. Again, it's called The Undefeated Mind by Dr. Lickerman. Again, my name is Didi Esse. Wherever you may be right now, whether it's day or night, I hope you have a spectacular day, night, or evening. Okay? All right. Take care of yourself. Until next time. Ciao.